My mom and stepdad disowned me, left me out of the will to favor my stepbrother, and treated me like I didn't belong. But now, years later, they're begging for my help. There was one night that sticks with me. I came home around 8:30, exhausted after a long day at school and work. I'd started working part-time at a local coffee shop to save up for, well, I didn't know what yet, but I knew I needed money to get out eventually. Anyway, I got home, and there was a note on the counter. It said, "Went to dinner. Back late. There's leftover spaghetti in the fridge." That's it. My mom, Steve, Tyler, and Ethan had all gone out for a nice dinner, and they didn't even think to invite me. I wasn't surprised, exactly, but it still hurt. It was just more proof that I wasn't really part of their family. After that, I stopped caring about trying to connect with them at all. What was the point? I lost it finally when Tyler threw one of his infamous parties while Steve and my mom were out of town. I've been looking forward to a rare weekend of peace and quiet, but instead, the house turned into a zoo. Random people I'd never seen before were everywhere, on the couch, in the kitchen, even in my room. When I tried to kick them out, some guy just laughed and said, "Chill, dude. It's just a party." The next morning, my room was trashed. Someone had spilled soda all over my desk. My backpack was ripped, and my headphones were missing. I was furious. When Tyler finally stumbled downstairs, I confronted him. "You're cleaning this up," I said, my voice shaking but firm. He just laughed, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. "You shouldn't have left your stuff lying around," he said, brushing past me. For a second, I considered grabbing him by the collar, but then I heard Steve's voice booming from the kitchen. "What's all this noise?" I knew how that would end, so I swallowed my anger and walked away, vowing that next time, I wouldn't back down. That's when I realized that I couldn't keep living like this. I couldn't keep waiting for them to change or for things to get better. They weren't going to. I started saving every penny from my part-time job. I didn't have a solid plan yet, but I knew I needed to get out. When I was 16, I almost ran away. I packed a bag with clothes and whatever cash I'd saved from my part-time job and made it as far as the bus station before reality hit me. I had nowhere to go. I sat there for hours watching buses come and go before finally trudging back home. No one even noticed I was gone. That was the moment I realized I needed a real plan. By the time I turned 18, I'd been mentally planning my escape for years. Every shift at my part-time job, every spare dollar saved, was about one thing: leaving that house and finally feeling free. I didn't tell anyone my plan, not my mom, not my friends, no one. It felt safer to keep it to myself, like speaking it out loud would somehow jinx it. I didn't just want to leave. I needed to. Every time Steve or Tyler barked an order or left a mess for me to clean, it felt like a countdown. Each shift at the coffee shop wasn't just about earning money, it was about buying back my freedom, one paycheck at a time. Whenever Steve made snide remarks about pulling my weight, I'd silently smile, knowing I was pulling more than my share. I stopped explaining myself and stopped trying to please them. Every ignored comment felt like a small victory, proof that I was done playing their game. My deadline wasn't arbitrary. Steve had been hinting at charging me rent as soon as I turned 18. "If you're old enough to work, you're old enough to pay your way," he'd said with that smug grin I'd come to hate. I wasn't about to give him another excuse to control me. If I was going to pay rent, it was going to be for my own place. So, I'd found a tiny apartment close to my college. It wasn't much, but it gave me freedom. The hard part was breaking the news. I waited until my birthday. I figured if I was officially an adult, it'd be harder for them to argue. So, I prepared myself to have a decent conversation with them. That night, I went to my room and found that Tyler had left the living room in absolute chaos, trash thrown everywhere, and as always, Steve acted like it was my responsibility to clean it up. "You're part of this family, Ethan," he said, standing there doing nothing while I picked up after Tyler. "Sometimes you've got to pull your weight." That was it. I reached my limit. I dropped the trash bag on the floor and said, "You know what? I'm done. I'm moving out." The room went quiet for about 2 seconds before Steve burst out laughing. "Oh, really? You think you're ready to live on your own? You can't even keep this house clean," he said, gesturing at the mess Tyler had made. "You'll be back in a month, begging to come home." I turned to my mom, hoping, stupidly, that she'd back me up. She just sat there folding laundry, avoiding my eyes. "Mom," I said, my voice shaking, "seriously? You're just going to sit there and let him talk to me like that?" She sighed. Finally, she said, "Ethan, this is a big decision. Are you sure you're ready for this?" "Ready?" I yelled. "I've been ready for years. I've been dealing with this crap since the day Steve and Tyler moved in. I've been their maid, scapegoat, and invisible roommate all rolled into one. If they think I'm sticking around for more of it, they're delusional. And you want to ask if I'm ready?" "No, Mom. The question is, why haven't you stood up for me ever?" Her face crumpled, and for a second, I thought she might actually apologize, but instead, she said softly, I didn't want to make things harder for anyone." I laughed bitterly. "Harder for who? Tyler? Steve? 'Cause it sure as hell hasn't been easy for me." Steve, of course, couldn't keep his mouth shut. "Oh, here we go. Poor Ethan, always the victim. Grow up. Life's tough, kid. You're not special." I grabbed my bag and headed for the door, my heart pounding with rage. "You know what? Keep the house, keep the family dynamic, Keep it all. I'm done. I'll figure it out on my own, and guess what? I'm never coming back. I didn't wait for a response. I slammed the door behind me, cutting off whatever Steve was yelling as I walked out into the night. For the first time in years, I felt free. But I was furious it had to come to this. The first night in my new place was weird. The silence was almost too much. After years of living in a house full of noise and chaos, I sat on the floor eating takeout because I didn't have a table yet, just wondering if I'd made a mistake. But deep down, I knew I hadn't. This was what I needed, a chance to breathe, to live without constantly being blamed or overlooked. Over the next few weeks, I settled into a routine. No one told me to clean up after them, no one stole my stuff, and no one blamed me for things I didn't do. It was peaceful, and I started to realize how much I'd missed that. I didn't cut contact with my mom completely, but I kept my distance. We'd text occasionally, and she called a couple of times, but our conversations were surface level. She never asked about my apartment or how I was doing, and I didn't volunteer much. Steve and Tyler, they didn't reach out at all, which was honestly fine by me. There was one time, though, when my mom called late at night. I picked up, thinking something was wrong, but she just wanted to talk. She sounded off, like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Finally, she said, "Ethan misses you. He keeps asking where you are." I didn't know how to respond. I missed Ethan too. He was just a kid, after all. But I couldn't go back to that house, not even for him. "Tell him I miss him too," I said, and that was the end of the conversation. Moving out was the best decision I ever made. It wasn't easy, and it didn't magically fix everything, but it gave me the space I needed to figure out who I was outside of that toxic environment. Until my life shifted to a completely new level.